Hey guys, welcome to Meet at the Apple Live. I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron. Mets fans, this is your chance to be heard. We're streaming on the Mets YouTube. We're streaming on the Mets Twitter, and we want to hear from you guys. I'm Vito Calisi. Like I said, that's Jonathan Barron. And John, are you excited for this little experiment, dude?
Experiment. I mean, this is awesome. We've always talked about doing this, and a better time in the off season to chop it up with some great fans out there. Off season is off to a start. I mean, we've seen a flurry of moves so far around baseball, some minor league signings. You never know what could wind up playing a big role in September and October, as we talk about here all the time on the show. But yeah, I'm excited to do this. Excited to hear from you guys, what you guys want to see from the New York Mets here. Not even Thanksgiving yet. But if you watch the Red Sox documentary, you know a pretty big move was made on Thanksgiving, actually at Thanksgiving dinner. So 'tis the season for some big hot stove moves.
Yeah, I mean, we had a big move on Black Friday a few years ago, right here in New York.
Which one was that?
Wasn't that Scherzer? Wasn't that Thanksgiving weekend?
No. Scherzer was right before the lockout. It was actually right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was
Black
right
Friday.
after. You know, I got sure. It was the following week. I think it was like the Wednesday or Thursday. I got a TV. I got a nice TV.
On Black Friday, probably.
No, it was the week after. Black Friday deal, but it was the week after.
Wait,
but I splurged.
I do want to say something, guys. If you are on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, join the StreamYard. We have the link below. It should be on the Mets Twitter. Click that link. Join the StreamYard because we want to hear from you guys. And the only way to do that is to come in this room. And then we'll start bringing people in. And we want to hear and see you. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to, but join the StreamYard. Let's get involved. John, what are some of your favorite moves the Mets have made in some past off seasons?
So I go back to 05, the Pedro and the Beltran off season. You remember AOL Instant Messenger, right?
AIM, yeah, I love AIM.
So I originally had a screen name that was based on the New York Rangers, and then Carlos Beltran signs, and my English teacher, I was in 8th grade at the time, and I convinced her to let us watch the press conference with Beltran signing, because that was a huge monumental moment in Met history. You know, there was rumors of him going to the Yankees. He was just coming off of the huge historic postseason in 04 with the Astros. Signs with the Mets. Miss Richter, shout out Miss Richter. She let the entire class watch this press conference. By the way, most of the class was not Mets fans, but we watched, and I heard Carlos coin the phrase, the new Mets. That was a big thing back in the day.
Yeah.
It was a new era of Mets baseball. And so I made my new AOL Instant Messenger handle, the new Mets 9191. You know, I'm a big 9191 guy.
It's your birthday.
Yes. But that offseason, also David Ortiz saying Pedro ain't going to no Mets. And then Pedro signs with the Mets. That was a big one. It was also the Mets signed Cliff Floyd. That was exciting. When the Mets signed Tom Glavine.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
Well, let's get some callers in. We have one person in the stream right now named Michael C. Why don't we bring Michael's stream up, Hunter? The Kidcaster is in here. If you listen to me to the Apple, you know the Kidcaster, Hunter Taubes. Let's see what you have to say. Michael, can you hear us? Hello? All right, Michael, you got 5 seconds to unmute yourself. If you don't, we are going to go back to not talking to somebody. All right, Michael's out. Guys, join the StreamYard. Get involved in the conversation. This is your chance to be heard. Like I said, we are on the Mets YouTube. We're on the Mets Twitter. We want to hear from the fans. This doesn't have to just be about free agents. This doesn't have to be about trades. This can be about things you want to see at the stadium, things you want to hear. Thomas Taub said he loves the Kidcaster. I feel like you guys are related.
Well, we got some comments here. Let's read some of the comments. Jeff Cohen, how about signing Iglesias and Winker now? No need to wait until another big move. Juan Soto was signed. So, all right, those are moves at the margins. That's not the big fish that right now I think we could say the entire baseball world is watching and kind of waiting on. I know a lot of people in the know or have experienced similar free agencies or thinking that this is not going to take all off season. You know, Bryce Harper's free agency took quite a while. We got Tucker here.
Tucker, why don't we bring up Tucker and talk to Tucker? Hunter, bring him up.
Hold on, Tucker. Let's add you to the stage. There you are. What's going on, Tucker?
Hey, Tucker, what do you want to say today?
I just want to talk about the pitching and just how, I don't know, it just feels like we're letting Severino, Manaea, the really core of our pitching staff go. And I guess, I don't know if we can always get more in free agency, but it just feels wrong not to re-sign them. That was about it.
Cool. Well, Tucker, thank you so much for chiming in. Now, look, if you guys remember this past offseason, this was a year where the Mets actually had to build a rotation from scratch. And we're not saying we're in that same position right now. We're not saying the Mets won't re-sign those guys. But we've seen David Stearns in his first year come in and put that rotation we saw last year together. I mean, all he had at that point was Kodai Senga, David Peterson, and Jose Quintana, who came back on. Did he sign a 2-year deal originally, or was he on a 1-year deal?
It was a 2-year deal, so it was year 2 of his contract. No, Tucker, I mean, look, it's a fair point. First of all, I don't think the Mets are necessarily saying bye to these guys. You know, they were both offered qualifying offers. We haven't gotten official word yet on whether or not those guys will accept them. But obviously, Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, they both earned the right to test the market this offseason after the great seasons that they both had. Sean reinventing himself in some ways, the new arm slot that he used and had so much success, having one of the best seasons of his big league career. And then Luis Severino, who had a healthy season. And as they say, the best ability is availability. And for Sevy, the ability was never the issue with the Yankees. It was more, can he stay on the mound? And the Mets figured out a way to keep him healthy throughout the season. So those guys have both earned the right to look for multi-year deals on the open market. And, we'll see what happens. But like you mentioned, free agency is a boon. And like you mentioned, the Mets were in this position last year, and they still navigated free agency without locking themselves into long-term deals when it comes to starting pitching. Now, obviously, the hope, I think, is for some starting pitching to come from within and promote guys from the minor league system up to the major leagues. But there are a number of really, really talented guys on the free agent market. And then there's a trade market that, we've kind of talked about. But David Stearns has commented about the trade market, saying that it's a way to get guys that you couldn't get otherwise. And that's exciting for him. So I would keep an eye on the trade market as well, in addition to free agency, when it comes to the Mets piecing this rotation together.
Now, on YouTube, Bruce Blackman said he's looking for pitching this offseason and keeping Pete Alonso. Look, Pete Alonso, obviously one of the big free agents out there this year, obviously familiar with Mets fans, somebody that I think, all fans would love to see, but we still got a lot of time to go at the offseason and a lot of moves to be made. We got some more people on here. Let's go to Ethan Peck. Ethan, Hunter, bring him up, Kidcaster. Come on.
How's it going,
What's
man?
up, Ethan?
How are you?
Good. Where are you calling from, first of all?
Long Island.
All right.
I agree with the last caller. I think that Sean Manaea and Iglesias, we have to be loyal to our players. And I think that, just buying the best players has been proven not to always be the best winning strategy. For example, the Yankees just had Soto. They didn't win. So I think that we should go after Soto, and we should be willing to give him a big contract. It's nice that the Mets finally have money and can do something like that. But we should also be careful, because if we lock ourselves up to the biggest contract in history for 13 years, and then that just defines the team, and we don't also, build a core of players with the right, this team that we had this year was special, not beyond just talent. So we have to keep some of that magic in addition to going after big players. So I think re-signing Manaea, re-signing Iglesias, we all gave him credit, for having such a great season after everyone wrote him off, and then we're just going to write him off. Makes no sense. So we should sign those two and then look to Soto, Sasaki, even maybe looking to get back to Grom. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, those are all fair points. As far as loyalty goes, the thing that everyone needs to remember, Ethan, is that baseball is a business, and that's on both sides of the coin. So, who knows what's out there for any of the free agents, whether they are Mets that were here in 2024 or elsewhere. I think a player is going to take what a player can get, and an organization is going to do what's best for an organization. As for thinking about a long contract, I don't really think teams are necessarily thinking about. I mean, think about this right now. It's 2024, right? So if a 13-year deal was given out, we're talking, I'm going to say a year, 2037. That's a crazy thought, right? I remember when Mike Piazza signed his big contract, the 7-year deal that the Mets gave him after the 98 season. I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9. And it ran through 2005.
Yeah.
And in 1998, I couldn't even think about 2005. So I think teams aren't necessarily so worried about years, 10, 11, 12, 13.
The Lindor contract.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the first time you heard that, they kept saying, they were like, wow, Lindor's going to be here till his age 40 or 39 season?
Yeah.
So that's just the way modern baseball is. I mean, modern contracts. Wait, we have another person. Why don't we go to Matt, Hunter? Matt.
Ethan, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ethan.
What's up, Matt?
Hi.
Hey, Matt. How you doing today?
I'm good. I agree that Soto would be a big benefit, as well as it would cause some issues, honestly, in the long run. But I
What kind
think
of issues?
I look. I think if we don't win right away, um, and we lock him up for too long, because unlike with Shohei, who deferred all his money, I don't think Soto will ever do that. And if we don't win right away, it's gonna cause some more issues in signing other free agents down the road as he gets older and he ends up. We don't win within like the next 5 years. He'll get older and then he won't be in his prime for as long as I honestly think people think he will be.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, look, the beauty of a Juan Soto is how young he is. And that's what makes this free agency so unique, is that he's only 26 years old. He just turned 26 the night of game one of the World Series. So you talk about 5 years from now. Well, Juan Soto is going to be 31 in 5 years from now. And you look at the bell curve in Major League Baseball when guys start to hit their peak and then hit a decline. Juan Soto might be at that peak in the 5-year window that you mentioned. And here's another thing to consider. And I know that if you go out, you get a guy like Juan Soto, where you make any big acquisition, gets the fan base all excited. We had a great season last year. We were all excited. We're going to be excited heading into 2025, no matter what. But it's also important to remember that winning is hard in this league. And at the end of the day, 29 of 30 teams go home ultimately disappointed. And only one team stands at the top of the mountain. And having a guy like Juan Soto for however long it might be, you take your chances. You know, this is a game of probability. Your chances in the long run are having that guy on your team is going to help you win more games than not. And then when it comes to October, anything can happen.
So, look, the Juan Soto topic was covered. You had to hit it. There was no way we were going to do this episode without talking about it. But, guys, this is your chance to be heard. Let's talk about things that you might not be hearing other fans say. We want to hear any opinion we can talk about right now. Anything you can think of, we want you to throw at us. And we want you to be able to sound it out to other Mets fans and see if people agree with you or other people are thinking about that. I'm going to read some comments right now. Eugene Huang said David Stearns is way smarter than any of us. He'll put together a great team. I mean, look, David Stearns' masterclass is something we say on this podcast, something everybody says. You got to always trust in our Pobo.
Eugene, that's a smart comment by Eugene, because Eugene, you nailed it 100%. David Stearns is the guy that is going to put together a winning team and company, because David Stearns is a smart guy putting smart guys and gals around him. And that's what's important.
So Chris Ferns looking for pitching depth, wants a left-handed pitcher in the bullpen and a center fielder. Now, this is something where we can start to talk about even prospects. Are there any prospects you want to talk about right now, guys? Is there anybody in the Mets system you're interested in? Because there are some people that were maybe injured this past year in the system who could play center field, could play some other positions. So get involved, join the chat like Matt and some other people did so far. It's fun talking to you guys. Join in the chat. Hunter, do you want to say something? You're waving.
I would say,
is your mic on?
I was going to say Carmel Viking, with all these low-key minor league signings with invites to spring training, is Stearns beefing up AAA for a possible upcoming trade? It's a good way to look at it too.
It's a fair point. And here's another thing that's important is winning in the minor leagues is important. It's important to cultivate a winning culture in an organization. You don't want a minor league team, whether it's low A, high A, double A, triple A, even down in the FCL. It's important to develop kids that are winning. So you want veterans at AAA for, number one, being able to call guys up in a pinch, bringing up a Pablo Reyes when the roster expanded, or a DJ Stewart, or guys like that we've seen in the past. Or number two, to be able to work with guys. I mean, we've talked to a lot of guys that played for AAA Syracuse this year. And a big conversation when we went over to Lehigh Valley was talking about the experience that a lot of those guys had being in the same clubhouse with Jose Iglesias, who started the year in AAA. And Jose Iglesias taught these guys what it means to be a big leaguer. And it's so important for young players who haven't tasted the big leagues to be working day in and day out, riding the bus, being in the dugout with, going to the hotel after the game with guys that know what it takes to reach the majors and have success in the majors. So yes, while I do think that perhaps there could be some moves made, who knows? It's also important to just have guys that know what it takes to be a big leaguer.
Jet and Gilbert definitely going to make an impact this year. Also, I think Benj is going to move through the system quick from Grant. Oh, Jenny Metz, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for jumping in the conversation. Now, yeah, look, we brought them up because the Arizona Fall League, I mean, those are two of our most important prospects we got to see there. Jet was in the Fall Stars game, right?
He was.
And look, those are two guys that were injured this year that didn't get to make the impact they might have made. And we're going to see a lot of exciting stuff from them over in 2025. Guys, again, the StreamYard, the link is here. The link is below. We want you to join the StreamYard because we are able to put you up and get you involved into the conversation. It's also in YouTube as well. You can see the link right there. Click that link. If you're on a cell phone, you might have to download the app StreamYard Guest. Totally free app. That's just the only way to get into the studio. But try to get involved in this conversation. We're enjoying talking to you guys. But let's just read some more comments
right now. I saw
now.
one right there. I wouldn't want to give up Jet. And that's obviously Jet Williams talking about the potential of moving him in a deal. The thing about Jet Williams that excites me so much is that I think Jet Williams plays the game in a way that baseball is headed in. The young, athletic, super versatile positionally. He's played center field. He could play the infield. He gets on base. He runs. He's a smaller dude, but we've seen smaller guys, especially in recent years, the past 5-10 years, have a lot of success. There's one that's a free agent right now, Alex Bregman, who could be in for a really big payday. And I think a lot of people look at a Jet Williams, who he was overlooked in the draft.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of teams might have saw his height and said, no, I'm not so sure about that. And that's a mistake because he is the exact athlete that I think is going to thrive in this sport as we go the next 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years. So, yeah, I mean, Jet Williams, people are high on him for a big reason. And you talked about Drew Gilbert. One thing about Drew Gilbert that really stood out to me at the Arizona Fall League especially, and even in September when he came back from his injury, he had a strong finish, OPS over 800 September through the end of the AAA season, was the pull side power. He was hitting the ball in the air to the pull side a lot more than we had seen before. So it looks like Drew had worked on that a lot, and it definitely paid dividends in that short time he had coming back from the injury and into the Arizona Fall League. So both of those guys towards the top of the system. Jet Williams probably would have played at AAA this year. Didn't get the chance to with the injuries that you mentioned, but definitely a couple guys that can make an impact in 2025 at Citi Field.
Yeah, and then there's also some pitching prospects that we can see make an impact next year. Brandon Sproat, a guy that we spoke to a few times last year. The interesting thing with minor league pitching is also there's guys that are maybe starting pitchers at the minor league level right now that could always be big helps at the bullpen when the next season comes around. Do we have any more comments we could read right now? Because I want to talk to you guys. I talk to John twice a week on this podcast. It's the listeners I want to talk to.
Yeah, now we actually have a pretty big date coming up. That's, I think, tomorrow. And that is teams need to make 40-man roster decisions. So you are probably going to see a flurry of trades in the next 24 hours as teams try to clear out some guys that they think have value that they may not be able to put on the 40-man roster. This, of course, all ahead of the Rule 5 draft that's coming up pretty soon. If you guys don't know, the Rule 5 draft is, how do I put it? A pool of players that teams choose not to protect on their 40-man roster. Whether you get drafted or signed as an IFA, you get 4 years where you don't have to be protected, don't have to be put on the 40-man roster. After that, you require protection. So teams are going to have to make those decisions pretty soon, and it usually leads to a flurry of trades, leading up to the Rule 5 draft, which takes place in a very nonchalant way in a ballroom.
I want to go to this call.
We got
Nadia.
What's
up,
Nadia?
Hey, Nadia. We talk to each other all the time, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good.
Sorry, I gotta get away from my kid.
It's all good. What's on your mind today?
Not much at the moment. Just listening in on the talks regarding the farm system. I was actually just trying to figure out how to use the app, and it just popped up.
All right, cool. We're glad that you were able to figure it out. Not too tough, right? Pretty user friendly.
Yeah, no, not hard at all.
Good.
All right. Well, we got a bunch of people who want to get in right now. Let's go.
Nadia, real quick, we saw your tweet. We are going to do just that. We're going to show you a little behind the scenes. Not today, but we saw your tweet. We appreciate it, and we'll fill you guys in about what goes on a game day here and all the things that you talked about. So thank you for calling in, Nadia.
Thank you, Nadia. Let's go to Ryan now. Ryan Beckman. What do you want to talk about today, Ryan?
I'm curious. Well, listen, happy to be here. I have full 100% confidence that this regime is going to have a plan A, B, C for every move this offseason, whether we land Soto or not. They have shown and proven to us last year they've earned all the credit in the world to be 100% competent in decision making. I'm really curious. One thing they hold close to the chest is their value of the prospects. It's not something that we've been privy to. Maybe you guys have had a little bit of an indication through your insider relationships. It seems they've drafted players with redundant skill sets, whether it's Luisangel Acuna and Jet Williams. There seems to be a model of player they're looking for moving forward. So with that formula, I'm curious to see who they value over other players. Jet Williams and Luisangel Acuna bring similar skill sets. I think Jet has what's proven to be a much better eye at the minor league level. But from what they have been able to show with their speed, agility, and a little bit of pop, I'm curious to see what the value is for each of these prospects internally, because that'll give us a good sign over who may be moved, who's redundant in the system. We've got Mauricio and Beatty now in the system. Mauricio's missed a year. Jet and Gilbert missed most of the year as well. I know that set us back potentially for their growth, but it's going to be an interesting offseason to see if we do move prospects versus filling in with free agents.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan, so you talk about Acuna and Jet and there being a bit of redundancy there, but I think that plays off of just what I was saying a few moments ago where, those guys they have skill sets of where the game is going. Now with Luisangel Acuna, we saw it at the major league level this year when he had his cup of coffee with the Mets, filling in, by the way, for Francisco Lindor at a critical part of the season, and he didn't skip a beat, both offensively, but also defensively, which was just as impressive. He made all the plays at one of the most premium positions on the diamond. So again, I think it's about having athletes who can play a plethora of positions, who can get on base.
Versatility in the Met system has been such an important thing. We put up an interview with a guy named Luke Ritter last week. Really important piece of the Met system. Guys who can play multiple positions is always going to matter in the long run. And you're seeing the game move that way. You're seeing guys, you're seeing players who can play those positions, like a Jeff McNeil, for example.
Yeah.
Jeff McNeil was able to have the start to his Mets career that he had because he was able to play left field. He was able to play second base. You can move a guy around. It's the most important thing you could be.
Yeah. I mean, I think this goes back to, it was really the Rays in the late, 08, 09, the Joe Madden Rays. Ben Zobrist sticks out as a guy like that.
The Cowbell Rays.
Yep, the Cowbell Rays. So, we took Ryan out of the chat. I was going to, can we get Ryan in real quick? I have one more question for him. Ryan, who's on the back of that shirt?
The back, this would be Brandon Dubinsky.
No, I have a Brandon Dubinsky t-shirt also. I love that.
He's that gritty guy.
Dubinsky. Those are my go-tos. So I had to get that question in.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, we're going to go to the next caller, Stephanie. Stephanie, who I have the same last name as.
That's my cousin.
Hey, Stephanie, how you doing?
What's up?
Good. How are you?
Good. What do you want to talk to us about today?
I was just kind of piggybacking off of what the last guy was saying, I think, where he was saying that there's a plan A, B, and C, and I totally have such a good feeling about whatever happens. I feel like would be the best decision for the Mets, and in that where we can pick off of pitchers if we don't get Soto. There's a lot of good pitchers that are on the market or within our system, like Sporat and even Christian Scott, or honestly, we have a lot of trade value too. I feel like there's just so many options where if God forbid we don't get Soto, obviously that's like ideal. But if we don't, I feel like there's a lot of potential here.
You know what I like? I like this new, I feel like the post 2024 Mets are all about positivity and looking at the team and just having total faith in the organization. And it's like a new world to live in. I mean, I feel like growing up, the offseason didn't feel like this. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that it stems from the top with Steve and Alex Cohen being the incredible owners that they are. And then, Steve Cohen went out and he was patient and he waited and he hired David Stearns, who has been at the top of his class ever since he started working as an executive in Major League Baseball. And we're lucky to have him as the architect for this team. We saw that in year one immediately off the bat. And there's every reason to trust in him and his staff to put another winner on the field in 2025.
Let's go to Leo Kennedy. Leo Kennedy, you are on the matter.
He was about to say on the fan.
I was about to say on the fan.
No, he was about to say on the fan.
I was like, I don't think I could say that.
Now, Leo, you have to say first time, long time.
Yeah, well, it actually is my first time doing something like this, so it's pretty interesting. But
really, is that a green screen behind you, though?
It is, though, yes, because in this era of Zooms and Google Meets, you need one. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You put like a weather chart behind you. You got a cold front moving in, a warm front.
I wish that would be more fun. But
I just want to know about the green screen. What do you put on the green screen?
I mean, I just use it as a backdrop. like I haven't really done anything fun with it, but I could.
You should do some fun stuff on there. All right, Leo, what do you want to talk to us about today?
We were talking about center field on this, and like I heard like a lot of prospect options and other stuff, but like, Tyrone Taylor came in pretty big for us this year. And, we're all big Tyrone Taylor fans. So I just want to mention him. He's been great.
Look, we love Tyrone Taylor. I mean, the amount of times on this podcast we've brought up one of David Stern's first moves as Pobo of the Mets was trading for Adrian Hauser. And out of that trade came Tyrone Taylor as the fourth outfielder who, look, one of the biggest plays of the postseason was that catch he made that unfortunately they don't win that series versus the Dodgers, but I will always look at that moment and just other moments Tyrone Taylor had this year. I remember a game against, I think it was the Nationals, where Tyrone Taylor made a miscue out in right field. And then literally the top of the next inning comes out and just saves the game.
Yeah, that was that around July 4th weekend series or week series they played.
Thank you, Leo.
But I mean, Tyrone Taylor had a slew. I mean, let's not forget the walk-off hit, the first one of the year. That's number one. Hits a big home run on June 28th, which we know that win led to the OMG performance. A big hit he had in Philadelphia on Roberto Clemente Day, that scoreless game into the top of the 8th inning. He hit the go-ahead home run. The Mets wind up not winning the game.
Did you bring up the Tigers?
Yes, I brought up the walk-off hit, first one of the season. So Tyrone Taylor was a godsend. You talk about surplus value, they say one win, one WAR is worth about $10 million on the open market. Tyrone Taylor was incredible surplus value for the Mets. And this was, this was obviously David Stearns being familiar with a very athletic player, a player that's controllable for a long time, and a player that made a big difference in many ways. Center field is not an easy position to source for. You look at center fielders around Major League Baseball, it's an incredibly important position defensively. Teams usually that have good center field defense, if you look at some of the best OAA by teams in center field over the last 5-10 years, there's a correlation between those teams and winning. Same goes for two-strike hitting, but we'll talk about that maybe on another episode. But Tyrone Taylor is the goods defensively, and he could absolutely hold his own at the plate. He had a bunch of big moments offensively, and like you said, Leo, the Mets really, really were lucky to acquire a guy like Tyrone Taylor in a deal for with Adrian Hauser that paid incredible dividends for the Mets.
All right, let's go to our next person, Daniel Cassiano. What do you want to say today?
I want to say, I'm tired of the front office making so much stupid move. We got so much money. Like, why can't we bring Pete Alonso back and then sign Juan Soto? Because people keep saying, oh, we can't sign Pete Alonso and then one. I don't want Pete Alonso to leave. If he leave, my heart will be broken if Pete Alonso leave.
Well, look. You got to love passionate Mets fans, and there's people who are going to feel that way. Obviously, the Mets do have the benefit of having an owner like Steve Cohen, and we're going to see how this offseason shakes out from now all the way up until spring training. But I take into effect what Stephanie said before of no matter what happens, no matter how the chips fall, just having faith in this team being able to move forward. Because going into 2024, nobody would have said, outside of maybe this room, didn't hear many Mets fans saying this is a team that's going to have a deep playoff run.
Yeah, no, I mean, trust the process, number one.
Yeah.
As far as the emotions go, look, Daniel, I'm with you. I'm not sitting here saying what should or shouldn't be done. What I will say on that topic is we as Mets fans love Pete Alonso. No matter what happens moving forward, Pete Alonso gave us, the fans, and the organization 6 incredible seasons. Him breaking the single season rookie home run record, going on a blitzkrieg towards the end of the season, hitting that home run the second to last day of the season right here at Citi Field off Mike Foltynewicz in front of a big crowd at Citi Field. An incredible moment that we'll never forget. Obviously, the home run he hit in Game 3 of the Wild Card Series. Still the biggest home run of the season. I know Vito doesn't agree, although I know that he's starting
It's a debate. It's a debate.
It's not a debate.
It's a debate.
Have you gone back and watched them all and felt the feels?
Yes. And the Lindor one hits me different. But I think that's the beautiful thing about baseball is that it's all about where you were in that moment when you were watching the game, how it's going to affect you in your memory. I will not forget watching it with all of my coworkers, hoping this team goes to the playoffs, thinking for a second that the season might have been lost and we wouldn't have even gotten to go to Milwaukee. So, yeah, it all depends on feeling.
All right. Well, no matter where you fall on that debate, Pete Alonso will always be, again, no matter what happens, a great Met. And he will always be beloved by this fan base for all that he has given us. And, we'll see where the offseason goes. I think that at this point in the offseason, there's a lot that will shake out and shape up the direction of many decisions. But no matter what happens, Pete Alonso is our guy. Number 20, the polar bear, the majestic home runs that he's hit. We love Pete Alonso.
Guys, want to remind you, Meet at the Apple is available on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to subscribe. We're here twice a week. We're going to try to do these live streams more frequently. We're enjoying talking to you guys. And now there's a special guest on here. I see somebody in the waiting room I can't wait to get to. Calling in from Long Island, it's Tom Taubes, father of the Kidcaster.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much.
There's the Pearl Jam intro.
Let me, first time, long time, gentlemen. Good to be here.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks for jumping me in. And of course, thanks to the world-class social media team of the New York Mets, period, end of story. Couple of quick things that I would like to bring onto the table here. Very much want to reiterate about my complete faith in the front office. Unfortunately, from 1988 to probably 2019, 20, 21, I've just been that atypical dysfunctional Met fan that called into WFAN screaming their brains out. But at least at this particular point, I think this team has the appropriate front office in place and will be able to make the right decisions. I do think moving into the Juan Soto area, I still have a gut feeling he's going back to the Yankees. However, I do think we should focus in on pitching. I would love to get some of our bench players, Winker and Iglesias, taken care of. I would love to get Minaya taken care of. I'm a little on the fence with Severino, however, only because we do have some pitchers out there. I do not want to waste any of our young players on any starting pitching. I don't want the guy from the White Sox because he's already keeping himself on pitch counts and doesn't want to pitch for certain I don't want that type of guy on this team. But I definitely think we are going in the right direction. As far as this young talent, I think we spoke about it earlier, or you guys mentioned it earlier. Let's see where guys like Acuna and Jet can play outside of whatever the positions that they're quote unquote supposed to be playing. Just because I do think if we can get more athletic, I think that's really just the way. I think the direction they should go in. And the other thing is let's fortify the bullpen, get one or two other guys in there. And I think we are in good shape. I'm on Pete Alonso. I'd love to bring back, but I don't know if they're going to bring him back based on what they do with Soto. If Soto decides to go elsewhere, I think we're looking at Pete. But thank you for everything. Thank you for taking the call. And
don't leave yet, Tom.
Great day.
Don't leave yet, because I have a question. How do you feel about the Kidcaster nickname we've given your son?
Absolutely love it. I call him here in the house.
Oh,
it's made its way to the home?
Yes, of course. It's ensconced. 11753 area zip code is Kidcaster territory.
Thank you so much for calling in, Tom.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Well, that was a lot to break down.
A lot, but we got the most important thing is that Hunter's own family calls him the Kidcaster.
I hope it's in the group chat. But yeah, look, I mean, it's a rich system, and I think it goes even beyond some of the top names that we talk about. Another guy at the Fall League was Jacob Reimer, another guy that had a pretty banged up season. He had a hamstring tear in spring training that cost him a large portion of the year. His first full season in pro ball in 2023. He was great. He was an on-base machine. He was 19 years old, and he wound up playing at high A.
In the pitching side, we haven't talked about him on this episode, but the guy we talk about all the time is Jonah Tong, who had this huge emergence this year as far as it goes on Mets Twitter, Mets fans talking about him. Got all the way up to Double A. There's so much talent. Nick Morabito, a guy that we've had on the show, he was the Mets Player of the Year on the offensive side. There's Jack Weniger. I mean, there's so many people we could talk about in the system. I'm literally just remembering names. Now, we're only going to do a few more callers because we're going to get out of here in the next few minutes. Why don't we go to Matt?
Oh, what's up, Cyril? You're muted. I think you're muted. Can't hear you.
Oh no. This is our first technical problem. Matt, we can't hear you. All right, Matt, we're gonna have to drop you. We'll try. We might try again in a few minutes. Try to figure it out because we want to hear what you have to say.
This has been fun.
This has been really fun.
We need a little screen though that we could press to wave people off. like Mike used to have back in the day.
Well, he didn't actually do it himself. He would tell people to do it for him. That's what Hunter's doing.
No, I know. You're right. Mike actually
He literally told us
notoriously
that he
never
didn't touch
wanted to touch
anything.
the technology, but it was the hand wave, which we haven't been doing, which
I've been doing it. I've actually been doing it with Hunter. You just have to do it subtly. You can't be big and show. You don't want to distract people.
No, I like.
Are there any prospects that you would like to shine a light on, that ones that we maybe haven't even really spoken about on Meet at the Apple?
Yeah, Ramon Gomez, who missed this season. You talk about a guy that could help in the bullpen, possibly a kid who throws 100, underwent Tommy John surgery, so he missed last season. But that's a name. That's a guy to keep an eye on. Yoel Diaz is another one of those guys to keep an eye on. So 1 through 10, people talk about. I mean, Jesus Baez. I know Joe DeMayo recently had him, I think, in his top 10. Joe DeMayo just came out with his top 30 prospects over on SNY.
Joe DeMayo, one of the best guys to follow if you're into prospects.
Yep, but yeah, Jesus Baez, big exit velocities. He had a really big season, so that's another one of those guys that I'm excited about. I know the Mets are excited about. I'm excited to see what Josh here has to say. Josh calling in. Let's get Josh in there. There he is.
What's going on, guys? How you doing? First time, long time. Big fan.
Welcome, Josh. What's on your mind?
I'm curious if you think if Reed Garrett and Garrett Wilson ever hang out. I don't know is that something that you think they ever do?
Another clown.
No, I got a real question, John.
It'll be Brett Beatty and Garrett Wilson, I guess. But what's your real question?
I'm seeing that Minaya has denied the qualifying offer. How do you think the Mets rotation is going to look next season?
So right now, nothing is official. Those are all reports.
And also, big congrats to Sean Manaea getting married this past weekend.
That's right. This guy is like TMZ on the ground. He's a combo between TMZ and People Magazine, a little red carpet.
Well, no, I follow Mets on Instagram, and I saw that they were at the wedding.
Checking out the fits. He's done all the reporting today in the office.
Lena Lindor was the
flower. Dancing OMG. I know exactly who was there. I know what everybody wore. I think I know what everyone gave as a gift. No, we don't know that much, but Vito's been the intrepid reporter.
I literally just said
you were talking about it for 15 minutes before. I've heard you talk about it 3 times today. 3 separate times.
That's crazy.
That's not crazy.
All right, why don't you just answer the question? Stop trying to be funny, guy.
I'm not trying to be funny.
Everybody knows one thing about John Barrett. It's that he's funny, right?
Funniest guy.
Anyway, what was your question again?
How do you think the Mets rotation is going to look next season?
Look, if you believe in the front office that I think has earned everybody's trust, then this starting rotation is going to be good once again. First of all, the Mets play good defense, and that helps the starting rotation. Turning batted balls into outs, get the pitcher off the mound, keep the pitch count low. Having a bullpen you can trust in helps the manager make his in-game decisions a whole lot easier. There's a lot of good free agents out there. We've talked about some of the guys that can come up from the minor leagues and help eat up some of the innings. There's a certain amount of innings each team has to complete defensively. Will Jose Quintana be back? Another guy who had a healthy season in September, didn't give up a single run. So there are a lot of options out there for the Mets, and we know that they are evaluating properly, and they will make the right decisions. I think that we all can trust in that. Do you have something to add to that?
I do. Somebody asked a question. What's John's take on floor chicken?
My take on floor chicken. So this goes back to something that happened in the office today, where I had a little snafu. I brought some chicken for lunch, and I put it in a plastic baggie, and the baggie was open. I wasn't aware of the open baggie. And so it fell on the floor. And I live by not a 5-second rule, but a 10-second rule.
Okay.
And so I picked it up. Someone asked a question, Hunter. I don't know what's the problem? I'm answering.
Don't yell at him. Don't yell at him.
Well, he's making a face. You're the one that prompted me to answer the question.
I saw a thing, and I want to know, Matt, let's bring Matt back in. Matt, I hope your mic works.
Can you guys hear me this time?
Yeah. We hear you.
All right, cool. Coming to you from Lima, Peru. So I'm probably the furthest caller that you're getting. First of all, I want to say it's an honor to speak to professionals and experts of your caliber. But all I want to say is, for me, I think the focus with David Stearns this offseason is going to be pitching. Because in my opinion, pitching wins championships. That's the biggest concern, the biggest question mark going into 2025. Obviously, you guys have covered the numerous free agents, starters that the Mets have with Severino, Quintana, Minaya. So I think looking at Stearns' track record in Milwaukee, the fact that he is not prone to giving guys long-term contracts when it comes to pitching, I think the trade market is going to be where he's going to be most active in trying to build this rotation. So, John, you were mentioning Luis Angel Acuna before. Impressive in his cup of coffee. I think he's actually a great trade candidate because he impressed in that short stint in the big leagues. Only a 654 OPS in AAA this year, but the fact that he was able to succeed against major league pitching in that short stint, I think that is going to make him attractive to certain teams, and he's got a little bit of positional versatility as well. So I don't know if it's going to be someone like Garrett Crochet. I think it'll be someone that has a little more of a track record as a starter as opposed to someone that only has a year or so of starting experience. But I think we're going to see some trades, and it'll be interesting to see which prospects are shipped out.
Yeah, those are all good points, Matt. I mean, obviously, we're not here to speculate who the Mets are looking to move necessarily. I think this time of the year, teams are trying to match up and see who could be a good trade partner. Okay, what surplus do you have? Oh, you have pitching surplus. Okay, well, I have some infield surplus that I can move. So maybe you and I can link up well on a trade. So, you hear about some teams that do have an abundance of pitching. We're not going to mention team names because that's not our job here on Meet at the Apple. But
we mostly just want to hear from you guys. We're going to give you some input on stuff when we respond, but this is we really wanted this to be a sounding board for fans to get on, let other fans hear what they have to say and talk.
Yeah, but no, those are good points. And like you mentioned, Matt, David Stearns' track record, look, I think that it's tough to compare his time in Milwaukee to his time or what he's going to do here in New York. Obviously, circumstances are a little bit different, but it's always prudent to not overpay and overextend the free agent moves with pitching, because those guys, when they reach free agency, it's usually 6 years that they've already put under their belt. And then, injuries and just the natural decline in ability come into play. And when you make trades, you could be trading for guys that are controllable for 2, 3, 4 years even. So we've heard David Stearns talk about the trade market and how he values it a lot. And we talked about the philosophy of prospects. They're replaceable. You're always drafting and adding and even scouting and signing guys out of independent baseball, like we saw the Mets do with Jonathan Pintaro, who was a very under-the-radar prospect who also pitched in the Arizona Fall League this year, representing the Mets. So those are all great points. And there are many, many different ways for a baseball team to build itself going into a season, in an offseason. And I think we're going to see the Mets exercise a lot of the different options.
So, guys, look, we've had a lot of fun doing this episode. If you want to hear more of this, if you like this, tweet at the Mets. Let us know what you want to hear. Do you want to hear different topics for episodes? Throw out some concepts out there. We could do stuff like this. We could do off-season, kind of like sounding boards for what you guys want to hear, or we could do more kind of like just topic-based stuff. Like, one thing we really want to do is talk to you guys about what do you think the Mets' all-time rival is. So throw some topics at us. Let us know what you would like us to do. And this was really fun. I mean, did you enjoy your experience, John?
I did. I got to shout out Ryan for wearing the Dubinsky shirt. That's amazing. But also all the great callers, all the great comments, the great questions that you guys asked. A lot in the chat. Jake Manella, I see you. He likes your outfit. Doesn't like mine so much. That's okay. But yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun.
Sports Prods loves this channel and the team.
What are some other good comments? We got so many great comments. And I mean, we can't thank you guys enough for tuning in. This is the first time we've done this, as you mentioned. And I'd say pretty good success. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of people came in here. Scott Filter, another guy, is with you on Dubinsky, said Dubinsky forever.
Yeah, the Rick Nash trade, still up for debate whether it worked out or not, but that's for a separate episode.
Oh, this guy, the Amazing Vintage Show, likes your jacket. So somebody does like your jacket.
Thank you.
Guys, remember, this podcast is also available as a normal podcast that's not live. Meet at the Apple. It's available on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Also, please rate, review, listen. Those reviews mean a lot to us. Give us a 5-star rating and leave a comment. This is better than doing work and making a living. Yeah, you know what, Tom? I get it. And you made my day because you telling me that the Kidcaster has made its way to the Taubes household. I love. Rick Nash was a great Bruin from Danilo Kowal.
Yeah, well, we got Ryan Lingard in that trade, so
All right, guys, I think this is the point where we wrap it up and we get out of here. Again, thank you for listening to Meet at the Apple Live. The first time we've done this, I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron. We've really enjoyed our time. You can follow me on Twitter at Vito F. Calisi. You can follow John at JMB9191. Listen to Meet at the Apple, and we'll see you here back at the Apple Live next time. See you guys.